So do you agree with the purpose of the tariffs? Like what's being said? Like, why are we having these tariffs? Because I think nobody knows.
I do understand it either. There's what the administration has said, and then there is what the administration has done. Those very much contradict themselves. The main argument. So I am part of a lawsuit against the Trump administration in the U.S. Court of International Trade. And the main premise of that lawsuit is that the president did not have the authority to do these tariffs because tariffs, for one, in the Constitution, financial or foreign trade is regulated by Congress, not by the president. It's very clearly in the Constitution. Two, he was able to do this, or claims he was able to do it, because he did what's called an economic emergency declaration. So he declared an emergency over fentanyl, saying fentanyl was the reason that he needed to do all these tariffs. But then when you see him talk about the tariffs and what he's doing, it's never about fentanyl. It's always about retribution or us having a deficit or whatever. The things he says, the reason why he does the tariffs, don't match the original declaration that they're saying that gave him authority to do it. So that's the core thing is, for one, I don't believe he had any authority to do this type of thing. The second is that if you want to bring back American manufacturing, this is probably the stupidest way to do it.
How would you do it?
Huh?
If we had to bring back manufacturing, what do you think would be the best way to do it?
I think that we probably need to accept the fact that we might not be able to ever do that. We are the richest country in the world. It makes sense that we buy more than we make, and that things cost more to make here. That's just a reality of the world we're in. If we're going to do that, because I live in Central Ohio, and there's a big thing where they're building this Intel microchip plant. It's huge.
That was under the Biden administration, correct?
Yes. So they are still working on that. It has been delayed multiple times. It's like 2030 now when they think they might be able to open it.
What?
It was supposed to be open this year. It's now 2030. That's another thing of factories don't just pop up overnight. You can't just do tariffs overnight. There's no way to make that work. But when it comes to a $20 product, there's almost no financial way to make that make sense, making it in the United States. And that is not small businesses' fault. That's 40 years of economic policy. So if they want to fix that, if you want to have U.S. manufacturing, we need to look at more high-end items, such as microprocessors that Intel does, cars, computers sometimes, depending on what the product is and what it takes to get made. Yeah, we could probably move some stuff back here. But the $5 plastic trinket that you get at the dollar store, that is never going to make sense to make here. It's always going to cost more than what it makes. So we do need to try to accept that fact of manufacturing is not going to look like what it used to.
Right. It's not going to look like Ford Motor Company, assembly plants back in the day.
Yeah. But it's not going to be like the steel mills and everything. Unfortunately, the 40 years of bad economic policy has made that so that can't just come back overnight.
And then the labor hours. I mean, if you're paying people above minimum wage to work in McDonald's, how are you going to be able to make the numbers make sense to compare to what they pay in other countries like China, Taiwan, Mexico? It's just not feasible.
Yep.
But I think this comes down to sometimes to economics. A lot of people just really don't understand economics, and it's not and I don't want to say that to sound condescending, but when you're telling that and communicating that to your creative, to the public, I think one of the things that people need to do is make it make sense as to how and why you can't produce an iPhone in the United States. It can only be done, like you said, in other countries. And I think that argument, but I'm glad you said that some things can be made in the US. So why don't we just focus on those things? But how long does it take, like you said, the processor plant in Ohio, how long does it take to actually get a proper manufacturing plant in place with tech, and then also you have to have the labor and the people, and now manufacturing is so not what it used to be. It's not hands, it's head, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
Manufacturing is machine learning, doing a lot of the actual assembly. So we don't, and this education impacts that too. If we don't have engineers, we don't have people who are scientists, tech people, we're not raising them up in the education system. How can we expect to build a manufacturing plant that's going to service high-end cars, computers? Like, that's just not feasible. So first we have to start with the education to even be able to do those kinds of products. But then two, the education is, it needs a lot of work. So how long does it take on average to get a manufacturing plant up? Like maybe 20, 30 years, somewhere like that?
I'm not going to claim to be an expert on how long it takes to make them. I can only kind of go off what I see, which is, these things are they're like, oh, these factories are going to restart that have closed. I'm like, those are dilapidated buildings that should probably be torn down. Like, all these are going to require new facilities. So that's at least construction time. That's getting the machines, which the machines are honestly probably going to be made in China and brought here because that's where manufacturing is. Right. So they have to do that. And so like when it comes to Intel, like we're almost up to 8 years now. Times that by every industry, because it's not like Trump was targeting certain industries. He just did it to everybody. So now every single industry is now looking to the possibility of moving manufacturing here. Well, like let's give them the good graces of it takes 4 years to get a plant up and running. So if I have to do that, if I have to wait 4 years before I can get inventory that is affordable, that I can make a profit off of, I'm gone. So that's one less customer for when that factory gets built, because a lot of people are going to go under in the meantime. The other thing
is going to impact the economy as well, because middle income really drives the economy of the United States. People don't really talk about that, right?
Yep. And then let's say you are the one that wants to build the factory here that makes those. Are you wanting to invest millions of dollars when our economic policy changes every day by tweet? Like, are you going to spend $24 million to build a board game factory, then wake up one morning and be like, okay, trade war is over, back to the way it was, I got what I wanted? No one's going to do that.
No one's going to do that.
No one is.
And just the construction, like it takes 3 to 4 years to do a stadium.
Yeah.
So you're looking at roughly 6 years to do construction, realistically, right? Yeah. And then, because you got to find somebody who actually has the capital to want to do construction. Then you're looking at the machine learning, that whole process, let's say 2 to 3 years. Now we're at roughly 10 years. And then you have the Intel piece, and not necessarily, you got to include process improvement. That's 20 yees.
Yep.
And then with AI, you could be outdated by the time you get started.
Yeah, because those factories that they all want built, they're not going to be staffed by people. They're going to be staffed by robots.
Correct.
So like I get the premise, and like it's a very appealing idea, but you can't just say we're doing this and that be the reality of the situation. Like it's obviously going to be robots running these. They run half our manufacturing we have here anyways.
And
so thinking that we're just going to like go back to humans doing everything because Donald Trump said so, that's just not the way the economy works.
Not at all. What products do you think are going to become more expensive as a result of if they were to try?
Anything that you mean if tariffs go to effect and stay the way they are, or if they were made here?
If both, if the tariffs go to effect, let's just start there.
If the tariffs stay in effect, anything that comes from China is going to be probably the worst affected, because they are our primary kind of trading partner when it comes to stuff that's non-food, non-agriculture, natural resource. And it's going to get more expensive, even if the tariffs suddenly go away. It's messed up the shipping freight bandwidth so much that everything, it was really weird because like I know friends who are what are called freight forwarders, and their job is to help you get your product from China into your hands. They handle that whole process.
That's a job?
Yep. Yeah, I tried to learn it. I gave up. I'm like, I'm going to pay someone to do this. I can't do it.
It's that difficult.
Yeah, and it's just stressful. It's constant logistics and organization, and I was very happy to find a great person to do that for me.
So you still have to coordinate that piece.
I will work with them, but they handle the day-to-day paperwork, and they'll send me like the bill.
Wow.
But so I'm talking to them, and like, so when Trump becomes president, the shipping costs start going up because the bigger companies are like, wait, he might try to do something here. We want to get a little more inventory in before he does it. So then the tariffs hit and everything stops. So shipping goes down to like super cheap because no one is moving stuff. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going to happen.
Oh my God.
So the tariffs go up to 145% for like, 2-3 weeks, whatever it was. And then suddenly it's a 90-day pause. Well, then suddenly the shipping rate skyrockets because now everyone's trying to get their stuff in that has been sitting there the entire time the trade war started. So that started to go up. So then even though the tariff was down, it didn't help with prices because you have to pay more for your shipping. So you have to build that into your product price that ends with the consumer. But the thing that's I think is scariest now, and this is still like kind of anecdotal information, is that shipping cost is going down significantly, which it really shouldn't for this type of year.
So that means that it's less companies ordering.
Yeah. So it means there's less product coming in, which
Correct.
means the product that does come in, because it's going to be more scarce, is going to end up more expensive.
Yeah, because when you have, just for people who don't know, the less product, the more expensive. It's like housing. The less homes, the more expensive the homes are. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what I'm seeing now that has me more concerned for Christmas is this is when companies are normally starting to get their Christmas stuff in and start getting that put together. If they're not doing that, what does that mean? And like I said, I'm not an economist. I can just see the things I know that look weird compared to.
But that's the thing that people need to hear. They need to hear from you because, you know, the economists can't tell it in layman's terms like you can. Like, this is why this is happening. Do you think there are any countries that's being targeted more than others? I know we always hear about China, but is it for all, like 145%, let's say for China, Taiwan, every country, or is it just like 145% for country?
China was definitely being targeted. They were the only one that went up to 145. And he said that it was because Trump said that when he put these tariffs on these countries, that they were not allowed to put reciprocal tariffs on them. Most countries didn't, but China did. They didn't just kind of sit back and take it. And I don't blame them for kind of standing up for themselves. Like, I'm not going to advocate for that country, but I do understand where they're coming from of, you know, hey, you punched us first, we're going to punch back. You know, we're not just going to sit here and take this. So as punishment, he just kept rolling up that number until he got to 145%, just because they wouldn't roll over and do what he wanted. That's since been negotiated back and forth, and I believe it's at 30 at this point. The other one's Canada, which is like, Canada should be one of those places that we always work with.
We all love Canadians, right?
They're amazing. I love going up to Canada.
I love Canada too.
But like I think it was last week, Canada had been working on something called a digital services tax. Basically means like if Netflix comes in, they're sending the data from one country to another, that they were thinking about doing some sort of tax on that to, for one, offset the lost business that they got with the United States because of tariffs. Right. But because, you know, they're their own country, they can think about the ways they want to do things. Well, Donald Trump immediately threatened to put more tariffs on them if they did this tax, because it would hurt U.S. giant corporations like Apple, Netflix, Google. Those are the ones that would have been affected by it. And those, of course, are his biggest, inauguration donors.
Right.
So
True.
he just threatens online of, hey, Canada, you're not allowed to do this type of tax or else I'm going to put more tariffs on you. And they had to back down. But it's those are the types of things that it's like, that's not a good way. I mean, it's Canada. like what? Why are we picking on Canada? They're like,
it's like New Zealand.
Friends.
It's like New Zealand. It's like no mean people come out of New Zealand, right?
Yeah. And like we have a great partnership. We work together well. We trade on so many things. We have an amazing relationship. Why are we suddenly being mean to them? Like it's like some weird Mean Girl high school stuff. And I just don't understand what the only thing that I understand, and I'll be pretty blunt.
I love it.
I've tried to look at this as many angles as I can, because I'm trying to look for some shred of reason of why this is a good idea. And there is none. This is the stupidest economic policy I think I've ever seen in my life, or in history that I've known about. And it is only there to feed one man's ego. If it was there to help certain industries or certain manufacturing, putting a tariff on a banana does not make us build a car in the United States. Like, what are you doing? So that's the thing. It's like, it's so blanket and universal.
Yeah.
Like it's this weird tough guy routine. And he thinks it makes him look tough, but to anyone that has the basic idea of economics, it makes him look like an idiot, more than he already does himself on a daily basis on the internet. Right. And that's one of the things that frustrates about me the most is that when I talk to a lot of business people, and I'm talking about some people that have very large businesses, they all agree with everything I say.
But they're not going to say it publicly.
But they won't say it. They won't say it because they're afraid they'll get targeted. They're afraid like it'll be bad press, and then they'll do some tweet about them. Where I'm in the position of like, it is just me and this company. I'm not responsible for other people's livelihoods, so I can take a little bit more of a risk of like if something did happen, at least I'm the one that takes the blame, not someone else doesn't have to take that effect. But it's just frustrating because like everyone agrees with everything I'm saying. I've never met a business person that didn't agree or think
whether
that
they
I
were
was doing the wrong
Republican,
thing.
Whether they were Republican or Democrat, they both agree. Because I think that's the mindset people, assume because other communities or other politicians aren't speaking up. But whether you're Republican or Democrat, they all agree that this is a bad idea.
Yep. I have never met a Republican that would tell me in private that they thought it was a good idea. In public, when there's other people around, they're going to talk about how great the president is and everything. Then as soon as you get them in a side room and you're having a drink, they're like, oh yeah, it's a stupid policy. I'm like, why did you say that? Like if everyone just said it, this would be over.
No, they are not. People are really cowards.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate because we're supposed to be the land of or home of the brave, and so many of these people who we think of as leaders they're not leading when the opportunity has shown up. So I just find that very disappointing because this could be ended tomorrow if most of the people in the Congress who agree this is a horrible idea would just pass a law saying they're gone.
So what do you think is going to happen like in the next, let's say 12 months? What is Christmas going to look like? And then what could potentially happen next year?
I think that Christmas is probably going to be one of the lowest sales that we've seen in a while for a multitude of reasons. First is there's going to be less product. That product's going to be more expensive. And then people are going to have less discretionary income because Christmas is, for toy and game company, like that's where I make my money for the year. Like 75% of my profit comes from that month. Woo. So I'm expecting to do much less sales this year because people are going to have less money because tariffs don't just affect board games and card games. they affect the things they need in their everyday life, like bananas. The aluminum cans that you get your baked beans in now has a tariff on it. So that's going to go up. Like all these little things add up and all the prices are going to increase. And that's going to take away from discretionary income because wages aren't going to go up. Wages haven't gone up in over 20 years. So there's not that money for people to spend on things that would be considered a luxury item like toys and games. So I think that's going to go down. For what happens for next year, I really don't know. I haven't thought about it a lot because most of my time is spent panicking about Christmas. So I haven't got that far. But it's going to be one of those things of if the tariffs stay where they are for my business, I'm going to have to raise the price. I have not done that for the current order that I got in at 20%. I decided to go ahead and try to make that work. Did some downsizing on my part. I used to have an office. Now I work in like a co-working space and stuff. Save a little bit more money just to trying to get through that and not have to pass that cost off. But now if that happens again and all my prices are going to go up too because inflation, because of tariffs, are going to hit me just in my expenses of the food I eat. All that stuff is going to go up for me too. Yeah. So how I'm going to make those numbers work, I don't know yet. It will be one of those things of you cross that bridge when you get there because who knows how many changes in tariffs we're going to get before I even get to that position to reorder, So yeah, it's put it out of your head, deal with it when the time comes.